This Halloween season, prepare for thrills, chills, and everything in between. It's Vamptober on KLRN Radio. All October long, your favorite KLRN shows are taking a walk on the dark side. Dive into bone-chilling stories, uncover creepy science, and explore the paranormal with our special vampire-themed episodes. Don't miss a moment of the fright-filled fun. Tune in all month long for Vamptober, only on KLRN Radio.
This Halloween, KLRN Radio brings you a hilarious journey back in time. Relive the classic terror of War of the Worlds as performed in the only way KLRN players could do it. Join us for a special encore presentation of this legendary broadcast, originally aired in 2021. Will Earth survive a Martian invasion? Don't miss the thrills, the chills, the iconic terror, and the bong rips. It's War of the Worlds, KLRN Radio style. Tune in for the replay on Halloween night, only on KLRN Radio's X feed.
The turnips. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months. 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Well, I hope at least some of you are a holdover from the first 2 hours. Well, actually, technically, first 3 hours here on KLRN Radio. I may have an idea on how to fill that blank fourth one, though. I should talk to Ranker Steve, who's coming over, and be like, you should do a Lego show every Sunday at 8 your time, because that's 6 my time, and we could fill a hole. Giggity. Anyway, we're here. We're live. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. I know some of you are like, how can you be so chipper? Tomorrow's Monday. Well, for me, it's technically my day off. However, I'll be probably working the Twitchy desk most of the day tomorrow because I have catching up to do. Anyway, so yeah, I am glad that Al is back. You have been missed, my friend, and you still remind me every single day how much work I need to do to be as cool as you. So thank you for that. Sort of. So yeah, the plan was tonight, honestly, I was gonna do a whole rebroadcast of the Rogan Trump interview and kind of have fun with it. But I've realized 20 million people have watched it already. And it's been a lot more fun watching the left have kittens over Trump invading New York. Some of the people on the right are even having kittens about it because they don't understand why he's there. But here's the thing that I don't get, right? And this is my first take on this, because we've been telling ourselves and each other since Reagan that we needed to build a party that not only thought about winning elections in the moment, but how to win elections for future generations. So Trump going back into New York multiple times after being one of the only presidents and former presidents to do so, and he's getting flack from everybody about it. One of the things that I love hearing about, and please don't misunderstand me, this is not my opinion of anyone who is MAGA or MAHA or both, because I happen to be one of you now. One of us. Oh, sorry. But no, seriously. What I love is you've got the left on one hand talking about how anybody who votes for Trump has to be some sort of uneducated, undereducated, racist, troglodyte asshole. But then you've got them This smacks of the 1939 Madison Square Garden rally that the Nazis held. So you're expecting people that you think can't read past third grade to recognize and draw parallels for something that happened almost 100 years ago. That's your take right now. That's the one you're going with. Because guess what? Bill Clinton had the DNC in Madison Square Garden. Nobody really talks about that. Did that one smack of racism and give everybody trepidations? You know, the funny thing, I saw a leftist account yesterday talking about how she was going to vote. She went to vote in person in New York, and there was a line. And of course, they think that means that the Democrats are coming out and forced to vote. I have news for you guys. Now, I'm not going to go as far as Matt Couch and Babe Ruth that Donald Trump is going to win New York, because I know people that live there and they're like, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I will say that if he can make a solid dent in New York with as pissed off as Californians are at Gavin Newsom and everybody else that are running their state into the ground, he has a good chance of winning the popular vote. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of thinking that we need right now. And I'm going to explain why before we get into the meat of the show. And we may go a little bit over an hour. I haven't really decided yet. I guess it depends on how I feel. It's been a long couple of weeks. It's been going to be an even longer. What are we at? 10 days? Yeah, 9 days. So yeah, the next 9 days for me are going to be nuts, because the lead up to the election night, and then if it's anything like 2020, I'll probably be working until 3 and 4 in the morning and probably be on my 15th pot of coffee for the day, but we'll see. But anyway, for those of you that are just starting to trickle in, because I see the numbers coming up, first of all, thank you so much for checking out the show, especially if any of you are new here. If you are new here, make sure you follow along with me at RowdyRick73. You can follow along with the station at KLRM Radio. And we are building a news arm at Digital Beacon US. You're welcome to follow along with that one as well. And make sure you share stuff, because as the Chiron says, please like and share the feed. Your soon-to-be benevolent dictators, otherwise known as we here at KLRM Radio, would greatly appreciate it. And we also promise to be benevolent dictators for at least a couple of weeks as we try to take over the world. All right. Anyway, that's not exactly what the Chiron says, but it was getting too long. So I cut it shorter. But anyway, so back to this. So this is one of the first things that I want to talk about. It's going to take me a second to find it, but I know where it is. So one moment, please. Or wait, no, that's not actually one of the things I want to talk about. Before we get into the rally stuff, the rally blowback and everything else, let's talk about this, because this just came out. And all I'm going to say is, with everything that we're now finding out about J6, this is just a little bit on the nuts side, if I'm being completely honest. So this is from our friends at PJ Media. And yes, I work for Town Hall, so I plug them a lot. If you don't like who I plug, go start your own show. I'm okay if you do. Anyway, so let's do this one, since it's an article. Trying to make it a little bit bigger anyway, since the chat's there. So, handwriting expert confirms allegations that J6 whistleblower lied under oath. This is from Brian S. Young on 11:43 today, from our good friends at PJ Media. Former Congress critter Liz Cheney is now facing further criticism, as it appears that her star witness for the J6 committee may have lied under oath to Congress during her testimony. Cassidy Hutchinson, a former Trump White House aide, whom the establishment has used against former President Donald Trump as a primary witness, is now being accused of perjury after newly uncovered evidence showed that a note allegedly written by the former staffer on January 6, 2021 was not actually written by her at all. Hang on. This is my shocked face. That's not big enough. Let's try this again. This is my shocked face. I promise. I'm really just astounded at the levels that they will go to try to make something out of nothing over and over and over again. So Cheney, who was then the J6 committee's vice chair, called the note, which included a script for Trump to read during the unrest at the Capitol, proof of Hutchinson's key role in the White House's response to the riots. Cheney dramatically held up the infamous note as a smoking gun against the 45th president on live television in an attempt to paint him in a negative light. Then on October 21, investigative reporter Julie Kelly announced on X that a handwriting expert hired by the chairman of the House Administration Oversight Subcommittee's Rep. Barry Loudermilk, Republican Georgia, to analyze the note had exposed Hutchinson's ruse. The handwriting expert confirmed that former Trump White House lawyer Eric Hirschman, not Hutchinson, was the actual author of the bombshell note. Hirschman has consistently claimed that he, not Hutchinson, wrote the note that day, and that he drafted the note in real time while meeting with other officials in the White House on January 6th. His spokesperson told ABC News in June that the handwritten note that Cassidy Hutchinson testified was written by her was in fact written by Eric Hirschman on January 6, 2021. All sources with direct knowledge in law enforcement have and will confirm that it was written by Mr. Hirschman, the spokesperson added. This latest revelation undermines the credibility of Hutchinson's testimony by directly contradicting the entire J6 committee's narrative while raising immediate concerns over its handling of key evidence. Hutchinson claimed that the then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows ordered her to write the note on January 6th as the riots were underway at the Capitol. A former senior aide to Meadows, Hutchinson, claimed that her former boss gave her a notepad and a pen and dictated a potential statement for Trump on January 6th. During her testimony, Hutchinson said, "That's a note that I wrote at the direction of the Chief of Staff on January 6th, likely around 3 p.m. After Hutchinson was questioned about the handwriting on the Chief of Staff's note, Cheney asked her, and it's written on the Chief of Staff note card, but that's your handwriting, correct, Miss Hutchinson? Hutchinson responded, "That's my handwriting." The latest development comes after Hutchinson's former lawyer, Stephen Positano, filed a D.C. bar complaint against Cheney for communicating with his client without his knowledge. Just the News and congressional investigators had obtained evidence that Cheney directly communicated with Hutchinson and her associate, Alyssa Farah Griffin, using the encrypted messaging app Signal on June 6, 2022. Pasantino later revealed that he was unaware of any direct contact between Cheney and Hutchinson and had not authorized any such communication. All right, so I'm going to stop there because the article it's like the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and going and going and going. But this is what I will say. Is this. Look, this entire narrative has been falling apart for as long as they've been able to spin it. The only reason it held water for as long as it did was because a pissed off country and a bunch of people that were too terrified to go vote because they thought they were going to die handed half of the Congress to the fucking Democrats. And that's what happened. Whether you like it or not, that's what happened. Because there really was, I doubt there was very much shenanigans that went on down the ballot. Because most of the ballots that were called into question, even the night of 2020, were the ones that showed up in the middle of the night and were all just votes for Biden and nothing else was filled out on the ballot. Now, as everyone keeps saying, well, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, guess what? We have found evidence of election mismanagement going on now in 2022, and they found it again in 24 in places like Pennsylvania. They just had to release a statement that they have, in fact, realized that people that weren't eligible to vote were actually able to register to vote. And even with all of their safeguards against that, at least three of the people that were registered and have already submitted their votes, those have to be counted because they passed all the safeguard checks, even though they know for a fact that they're illegal aliens that aren't supposed to be able to vote in federal elections. This is why so many Americans are just pissed and fed up. But then, so you fast forward to today. So today, Donald Trump is going into enemy territory, so to speak, even though it's the city and the town that he basically grew up in. It's considered enemy territory at this point. So he literally went behind enemy lines. Now, while he's doing that, this is what's happening with a liberal reporter. So hang on, let me get this queued up for you guys. And then we will get back on this screen. And I'm going to go ahead and make my camera go away just so, because this is from a mobile source, so it looks a little funky on the screen for those of you that may be watching on a computer. But so this happened today. Just watch this.
I'm in front of Madison Square Garden here in New York City. There's a massive crowd waiting to get in, and there's a real air of menace here. This is not a joyful crowd by and large. There was a huge sea of "Pardon Trump" signs that we saw earlier, and I think that's part of the message tonight. This is a hedge. This is not a campaign or a candidate that is confident about winning. This is a campaign and a candidate that is appealing to the most extreme elements of his base so that in the event of a loss, they can take their fight to the streets. This is a continuation of that appeal to the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. And there's no doubt that this venue was chosen for a reason. Do me a favor, Google Madison Square Garden, 1939. I'm in front of Madison Square Garden here in New York City. There's a massive crowd waiting to get in, and there's a real air of menace here.
There's a real air of menace here. That's what this guy just said. Now, I have a problem with this. And the problem really is just about this simple. Because he's full of shit. Let's just call it what it is. He's full of shit. The problem is they know they're full of shit. You know what was happening while Donald Trump was speaking to a sold-out Madison Square Garden? Now, I need you guys to understand something. Madison Square Garden has a seating capacity of, I believe, 20,000 people. The venue was sold out within minutes. There were 70,000 people lined up outside while there were 20,000 people inside. And the whole time he's in there, the left is projecting things using, because they did this. Now, the funny thing is, everybody thought it was a masterful stroke after the changeover because of because at that point, the right was demoralized. Everybody was freaking out. They're like, I don't understand how they were just able to swap out a candidate and their side doesn't seem to care. If our side had done this, they'd be rioting in the streets. But so they did something similar and projected some stuff onto like the new, I believe it was the Empire State Building. So this time, the entire time he's giving his talk with folks like Elon Musk being there, all these people that are just, I'm sorry, in my opinion, they're amazing. Elon Musk has literally taught rockets to sit up and beg. We're seeing him turn things that were science fiction when I was a kid that are now science fact. You can say what you want because that's one of the things the left has always talked about. Well, he's never really done anything. He just buys into companies and takes them over and then takes all the credit. Seems like he's doing a lot to me. He's resurrected America's dream of going to space. Almost single-handedly because it had died on the vine for years. We've only been doing low orbit stuff since the 70s. And now we're talking about going to the moon again. We're talking about going to Mars again. Things that I was told were already going to be a foregone conclusion by the time I was in my 30s that never happened, or at least being talked about again now that I'm in my 50s. You want to talk about ways to give hope back to a country? You're seeing it. But you know why the other side doesn't want you to see it? Because they only have one message. We're the only ones that can save you. The problem is they've been preaching that message for over 100 years. And I keep saying this, and I even said it on a tweet that I saw today, or a post that I saw today, that we may get into in a minute with Tim Walz. The party that keeps telling you that they're the only way forward spends all of their time looking backwards and telling you how evil America is, was, and always will be. And yet they get mad that a comedian best known for roasting people in places said a joke during Trump's rally about Puerto Rico. Newsflash, most Puerto Ricans are either Democrat or Democrat light because they don't really have a Republican Party in Puerto Rico. Don't believe me? Ask one of my co-hosts at Aggie Rican because she said as much on the air. So most of them were probably already voting for Kamilama Hamasnik anyway. But this outrage that people seem to have for other groups, I mean, the entire reason the name of the Washington Redskins was changed because a bunch of liberal white clutchy pearl types got it in their head that they were going to make the Native Americans feel better and take the name away. You know what? I know Native American people that are pissed that they changed the name. Nobody really talks about that because we aren't the country they have painted us to be. Did America have slavery? Yes. Have there been things that have happened in America that have been unfair? Yes, but those things have happened everywhere. This goes back to something that I saw Elon Musk put out a couple of months ago. If you go back far enough, everyone who is in this country is descended from slaves. So does that mean we're going to give everyone reparations? And if you ask a leftist that, they're going to say yes, but there's a reason. And it isn't the reason that you think. Everything they do is about redistribution. Everything they do is to take what they feel is the dominant group at the time, make them feel like crap about themselves so that they'll start giving of their time, their talents, and their treasure to push their ideas. You know what we want here? We want folks in America that will give their time, their talent, and their treasure to make America great again, because she's not right now. She's sick. She's dying. And if the left have their way, she'd be a patient on life support and they're going to pull the fucking plug because they don't think America should exist. They tell you that with every message they send you. They show you who they are. All you have to do is be willing to look and really pay attention, and they show you and tell you exactly who they are. Sorry, I just realized I don't have the chat up on this screen, so I should probably fix that for you guys. Sorry. Yeah, I switch things around. Normally on the video feeds, I try to take the chats off, and I usually have the chats up more when it's just me on camera. And I realized I loaded something backwards today, which is why the chat wasn't there. But yeah, I mean, I guess according to them, I guess Al FDR was a Nazi. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's my take on it, Orty. I don't think they're going to be able to flip it red, but let's make it purple again, at least for a couple of cycles. Because, and they may have had a better shot if half the Republicans didn't flee to places like Florida, if I'm being honest. I think most everybody that's left was, at least I thought most everybody that was left was Democrat, but with as fast as that stadium sold out, I'm starting to wonder. All right, so let's keep going because they really are having kittens. So here's some clips from the rally itself. That actually, I guess, was going on for quite a while today. I didn't actually pay that much attention to it because I had a work meeting and a few other things going on. But let's get started with those. Give me just a second here. All right, let me change the view because it's not going to make sense if I don't. And so that's basically just a live shot of the crowd. Let's take a look. I think so yeah, this is from Laura Loomer. Madison Square Garden has only been open for 30 minutes and the floor level is already packed, middle section filling up. Donald Trump is going to have a blowout rally. It's 100% sold out. Incredible energy. So this is from Marjorie Taylor Greene. New York City is ready to fight for President Trump. This is a look at the crowd that was outside. Marjorie, couple. Is it any wonder that the left is having kittens? So this is from Chuck Callisto. Breaking report, NYPD now reporting full capacity at Madison Square Garden with an estimated 75,000 outside the arena. I don't know. That seems like a lot of people sitting down or in the stadium to me. I'm sure the left will be pointing out to, oh, look at these empty seats. Like nobody ever goes to the bathroom or nothing. All right. So this is Buck Sexton, Trump MSG rally. Tucker drawing a line in the sand right now. So let's see.
Donald Trump has empowered the rest of us through mostly just sticking around in the face of their hate and abuse and persecution. He has given the rest.
Okay, so I got to stop this for a second, then I'm going to keep going. The irony again of Fox News having to carry Tucker Carlson at a Trump rally after firing him. It's kind of delicious, even if I don't agree with everything Tucker talks about on his show right now, because there are things that he brings up that I'm like, but at the same time, I also tell everybody that I am a free speech absolutist, so maybe he thinks by talking about it, he's sparking conversation. I don't really know. But the irony of this is not lost on me. Okay, back to the tape.
The rest of us the right to call BS on the charade. No, you are not better than us. No, you are not smarter than us. No, you do not deserve what you have. You probably stole it. No, you're not going to bully me into silence anymore. And I can promise you at this point, 9 days out, when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and pretty much every high school senior and college sorority girl in the country has come out finally say, yeah, I am for Donald Trump, actually. When the entire country has realized there is nothing embarrassing about this, what's embarrassing is to take a perfectly great country and destroy it, as they have. I'm not ashamed. You should be. At that moment, it's going to be pretty tough for them 10 days from now to look in the eye to America with a straight face. It's going to be pretty hard to look at us and say, you know what? Kamala Harris, she got 85 million votes because she's just so impressive. As the first Samoan, Malaysian, low IQ, former California prosecutor ever to be elected president, it was just a groundswell of popular support.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't screen that one first, and there was really not much I could do to make the audio any clearer. I guess it was a recording from somebody's TV. So anyway, he's basically just talking about how there's a lot of people that have been coming out in support of Donald Trump that nobody on the left expected, and how it's become not something that that a lot of people are ashamed of anymore. So I'm going to see if this one, this looks like it's actually from a video source. So we'll see if this one's any better. And if it's not, I'll just keep going. Also, since I completely blew through the break, let's do this real quick. So I can at least say I tried to accomplish something. So as we know, there's an election coming up in about 9 days. No matter what happens with this election, though, it's always a good idea to hedge your bets. So, as inflation continues to be crazy, and it will take a while to come under control, even if Donald Trump gets elected. Let's just be honest about that. As the dollar continues to lose value, as inflation goes nuts, as our credit rating has been downgraded twice in the last, 4 years, it's probably a good time to consider investing a little bit of your hard-earned cash into something that, one, is, for now, a tax-deferred program, and two, can give you some tangible assets. So please reach out if you are so inclined. To our friends at Genesis Gold Group, you can do so by either scanning the QR code here or going to this particular URL, which is pickaxegold.com. Go through, give them the little bit of information they ask you for there. They'll send you a handy-dandy little pamphlet so you can go over everything. Make sure that you put in the code KLRN at checkout so they know where you got the information from. My name's Rick Robinson, and I support and approve this message. All right. So anyway, so let's try this. And like I said, I've got tons of material left. So if this isn't working, we'll just move on to something else.
He's liberated us in the deepest and truest sense. And the liberation he has brought to us is the liberation from the obligation to tell lies. Donald Trump has made it possible for the rest of us to tell the truth about the world around us. And that's the single most liberating thing you can do for people. If you want to enslave people, if you want to degrade them, force them to tell lies. And they have. They forced us to lie about everything at gunpoint, effectively. They put people in prison for refusing to lie. And not just the obvious lies that men can become women or Vladimir Putin blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. No, honestly, he did. January 6th was an insurrection. They were unarmed, but it was very insurrection-y. Not even the obvious ones, but the big lie. You know what the big lie is? The big lie is that they're impressive. That's what the big lie is. That the people in charge have somehow earned the right to rule over you, and they haven't. And you know that. These are the single most useless people in the United States. They have no skills whatsoever. They've got 3/4 of the money, and they didn't earn it. They set up a system precisely for the purpose of awarding themselves wealth and power when it's undeserved. You look at Liz Cheney and you ask yourself honestly, what skill could she possibly have that allowed her to send hundreds of thousands of people to their deaths? Did she earn that? I don't think she did. No fair system would make Liz Cheney powerful. No fair system would make Larry Fink rich. No fair system would elevate someone like Kamala Harris to a presidential nomination. She's never been.
All right, so I got to stop here for just a second because I don't want. This one's actually got decent volume level, so I don't want to talk over it. I don't like him using the word fair system. I know what he's trying to say, but we need to stop. We need to. I don't even know where, and I say this all the time on the show. I don't know where that concept comes from. I don't know where somebody got the idea that life is ever supposed to be anything near what we would consider fair. So talking about a fair system that wouldn't elevate these people. Look, we allowed these people to be elevated. That's part of the problem. I think this is why a lot of people within Gen X are finally waking up, I think, because we realized that we didn't do the right thing. We thought we were. We were told what the American dream was. We went out, we chased it, we found our money, we found a house, we found the nice car, we found the wife and the 2.5 kids, everything that the American dream was supposed to be. And we realized that there were people that were intent on removing that dream. And we're going about and doing it rather covertly for quite some time. In some cases, longer than you and I have been alive. With the passage of things like the 16th and 17th Amendments. Those two things radically changed the shape of our country. Because the Founding Fathers originally intended for the people to have a voice, as well as the states to have a voice. That was one of those things was taken away. The Founding Fathers also envisioned a system where tariffs were used when necessary to raise revenue, as also as kind of a cudgel against people that were being shady, that were doing deals with us. And also the ability for the government populace to buy bonds when necessary to fund government projects. Those things all kind of went away. Now tariffs are a bad idea. They're terrible. They're evil. When other countries use tariffs against us all the time. This is why you don't see American cars in Europe very often, if at all. We gladly import everybody's cars because we want people to have the freedom of choice. Hell, the last freedom we really have left is the freedom to choose what we're going to consume. They've taken almost all of the rest of them away. They've even been pushing an idea of something that was illegal that hasn't been for almost 50 years, but they still use it as an excuse to be able to curtail speech. Well, you can't yell fire in a theater. Well, actually, you can. That law was changed a long time ago. And that's my point. Do you want to know why the left is having the fit that they're having? It's because the gatekeepers are losing their hold on the gates. That's why. We're able to get information from sources that we've never been able to get it from before. And then even one of the biggest information sources on the planet, Google, has decided to pick a side. If you don't believe me, do this. In separate tabs, open Google and then open DuckDuckGo. and then search Trump assassination attempt. See what pulls up in one versus the other. No, DuckDuckGo is not a sponsor. I don't get anything back from referencing them. But at this point, I'm even starting to lose heart with Brave, which was my Chrome alternative for a long time, because I've noticed some of the same suppression going on there. Now, I don't know if it's I don't know why, and I've never really looked into it. But I don't know about you, but I'm pretty tired of being told that I am a racist terrorist because I want America to be safe, because I want America to be strong, because I want America to be, I mean, let's just face it. We're talking about, with this coalition that Donald Trump has put together, that happened either by happenstance or by design. I don't really know. I don't really care. I just know that it has happened. We're talking about making America. I mean, how many of you had grandparents that would always say, you know, that old axiom, as you get older, just do everything you can to make sure that you are healthy, wealthy, and wise? Exactly. Hang on, Al. That deserves to go on the screen. Hang on. Al, who just came back. My entire show had to be researched on an alternative web browser. Google would not produce the content. But yeah, that's the truth. But that's just it. They found a way when the internet became a thing to try to become the gatekeepers again. And then they started putting thumbs in all the right places and levers in the right direction in all the right places to still try to control the flow of information. This is why 2020 went the way that it did. This is why everything that they're trying to, that they tried to do in 2022, even though it did still work to a much smaller scale, is now starting to blow up in their faces, because now we're starting to see exactly what it was that they did. Now, the leftist media is still going to try to convince you to not believe what you see with your own eyes and what you hear with your own ears, and what in some cases you can touch with your own fingers. Damn it, Jeff. All right, you got me with that one, you asshole. Oh, anyway. All right. You got me with that one, brother. Good job. Well done. All right. So, damn it. Now I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, let's move on. So this is another big point. This is from our friends at Red State. So what if I told you that the Democrats lost another Gen Z voter, and this voter happened to also be a 2020 and a 2024 DNC delegate? What would you say to that? Because that's exactly what's happened. Hang on, I've got a clip for you guys here. I forgot it won't let me maximize until I start playing, so hang on.
In 2020, I was elected at 18 to become one of the youngest delegates to the Democratic National Convention on behalf of my district. And in 2024, I was elected again to return to the DNC as a delegate. But this year, I'm casting my ballot for Donald Trump. You see, after I was elected in March, which was before Joe Biden's debate, I wanted to go to the DNC because I wanted answers on free speech issues, the border, and the economy. However, after reflecting on my time at the DNC, I realized that it was no longer the party of free speech and civil liberties that it used to be. In fact, Patrick Henry once said that the liberties of a people never were, nor ever will be secure when the transactions of their rulers may be concealed from them. And for the rulers of the Democratic Party elite to install Kamala Harris as the presidential nominee via stripping the vote of 14 million Americans, including their own delegates such as myself, well, that was a decision and a transaction that was concealed. And now I'm happy to say that I'm officially joining the Republican Party as a constitutional conservative.
So there you have it. And that's just it, folks. This is the part they don't want you to know. A lot of Gen Z folks are running away from the Democratic messaging because they're tired of all the, I mean, let's just call it what it is again. They're tired of all the bullshit. They're tired of being told that if they've earned something and they worked for something, it wasn't actually them who did it. They're tired of being told that, depending on what your skin color is, if you've had more success than anybody else, it's because of the color of your skin. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you there's no, and pardon me a second, because this one I will use the buzzer for, because it's one of the ones that I usually try not to use, but it's kind of warranted. So, hang on. There is no any fucking, there's no white privilege. There's just none. None. I'm tired of hearing that. Look, ladies and gentlemen, again, going back to what Elon Musk said earlier, who is now being told, by the left is now being called an apartheid supporter, by the way, which I find interesting. They're talking about Elon Musk and a couple of other prominent actual African Americans who don't happen to have the right melanin content, who have come into this country, and they're calling them products of apartheid. Because this kind of stuff used to resonate with people. And I'm going to be honest, I've been doing this for 16 years. I used to do a show where I had a liberal co-host, and we're still friends. We don't talk as much as we used to because I'm working all the time, and so is he. But there would be times that I would be on air with him trying to make a point, and the first thing he would say is, well, that sounds kind of racist to me. And I have to admit, it used to catch me off guard. I'd be like, do I really sound like a racist right now? And it used to make me think. And I don't think he was using it in the way that it's being used now, because that's what he's been told his entire life, is those things are things only racist would say. So I don't think he meant it the way that it's been weaponized into exactly, at least not yet, or at least not then. But it still happened. It still happened. And when I first started doing this, I used to actually just stop, and I would literally like play back in my head what I just said and be like, did that really, was that racist? But you know what I figured out? It's not about that. It's about making you want to shut up. Because when the left says all the things that they say, they don't see them as insightful. They don't see them as trying to get people to be violent. You can go all the way back to after the 2016 election, when you had Congress critters calling for, if you see a Trump voter in the streets or at the gas station, or a member of his cabinet, or a member of anything, and you know they're a Trump supporter, push back on them. Let them know that they're not welcome here. Let them know that we don't want them here. Those things were being said everywhere. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show, my brother. Got some folks hanging out on YouTube tonight. We don't get much YouTube traffic because I don't put shows over there very much, because I keep getting in trouble from YouTube. But seeing some YouTube numbers tonight is kind of cool. But I say all of this to you because their stranglehold is finally going away. And it was them who did it. They'll never admit it, but it's their fault. Because they will straight up never admit it, but it is definitely their fault. They overplayed their hand during COVID in ways that we had never seen before. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. Everything that they thought they were just going to be able to do for no reason at all, other than to see if they could do it. And luckily for us, a lot of folks decided not to take it anymore. I wondered if anything was ever going to wake Gen X up. And according to the polls, Gen X is coming out in ways they've never come out before, and voting for Donald Trump in ways that they've never voted before. So I think I have the answer to my question. And I have to tell you, those polls are terrifying to the Democrats, because they don't understand what's happened. These are the same people that watched Barack Obama run the country for 8 years and just thought that it was a foregone conclusion that Democrats were going to win for forever. These were the people that had a plan in place. They thought it was going to be able to unseat Trump and basically have him as the Republican head of the ticket being tried as a traitor, and ensure that nobody wanted to vote Republican again for at least another 100, 150 years. And it's just that simple. I mean, you want to talk about who the fascists are? Let's talk about this. So this is from Sarah Arnold at Town Hall. And so Pennsylvania Trump supporters claim that they received threatening letters in the mail from an anonymous writer demanding that they not vote for former President Donald Trump a week before the election. Voters in Philadelphia said they received a letter sent through the U.S. Postal Service using a fake copy of a Trump campaign letterhead. The note began by saying, "Dear neighbor," before listing why they should not vote for Trump and vice president, before they listed why they should not vote for Trump and vice presidential candidate Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio. The letter had a grim warning to Trump supporters. The author warned the reader that they know where you live and you are in the database. The letter warned the Trump supporter that there is no knowing what may happen and your family may be impacted. Your cat may get shot. The letter initially claimed to be a quick note of thanks for being engaged in the election and for your participation in the process, then claimed to be writing with a concern about the level of political violence in the country during this election year, as well as threats to our democracy. Now, why did I bring this up? Because I want to show you something else. All right, take a look at this. I'm going to make the chat go away for just a second. These are the people that are concerned about violent rhetoric, who are basically reenacting the Kennedy assassination with a mannequin dressed like Donald Trump or some sort of dummy dressed like Donald Trump wearing a MAGA hat. These are the people that are supposedly concerned about violence. Does that seem like they're concerned about violence to you? So this is from at Jack, looks like at Jack Unheard. Look at this display that the Democrats put up. This is clearly a threat and a message to President Trump. They aren't even hiding it. So they're concerned about violent rhetoric, yet they're doing things like this? Seriously? I don't think so. I think, if anything, they're hoping for violent rhetoric. I mean, to me, this just smacks of being for everything that they say that they're against. And it's just nuts. But here we are. All right, so we've got 2 more hits to get to, I think. I know, bad word choice. Sorry. All right, so remember the other day when I told you that I wanted to see at least 1, 2 more, well, probably more, probably only going to get 1 or 2 more quick hit polls. But I wanted to see more data before I said too much about Nevada. My friend Bonchi over at Red State doesn't apparently have that problem. So let's take a look at what he's got here, because I don't know. Like I said, we've got some Babe Ruthin going on this year, which is making me a little happy and somewhat nervous at the same time, if I'm being completely honest. So this is from Bonchi at Red State and should be on your screen just about now. So panic time. Longtime Nevada early vote analyst announces code red for Kamilama Hamasnik. My word, not his. The natural cynic in me is loath to ever partake in analyzing early voting numbers, but there is one exception. John Ralston has a long history of breaking down the data in Nevada and has proven that his model should be taken seriously. With that said, it's panic time for Kamala Harris. Ralston has released his latest blog on the early returns, and they paint a picture of a race slipping away from Harris' campaign. Things are so bad that she'd now need to dramatically overperform with independents to make up the difference. So this is actually directly from John Ralston himself. The early voting blog is updated. Ours have an added 2K lead, which is now 31,000 or 5%. GOP surge slowed a bit Saturday, but Republicans still gained. Dems need to decisively win Indies to make this a late election night. So let's go into this a little bit more in better detail because the copy of the post is here. So let's see. So Republicans have increased their statewide lead to 31,000. That's right, that's right at 5%, and it had been 29,000 after day 7. So the increase slowed down, but the R's still have a 6.1% turnout edge over the Dems in a state where the Dems no longer have a substantial voter registration edge. So Dems must win Indies to win Nevada. They need to win Indies by about 5 points. If the GOP turnout edge in the final electorate is 5%, if it is 6%, that means they have to win Indies by a couple more points. So the Dems have to start changing the electorate more to have a chance. Even if they're doing well now with Indies, they don't want to be trailing by 30,000 ballots going into election day. Why? If the final balloting were to take place with the current electoral mix, Dees would have to win Indies by 10 points, even if Trump lost 5% more off his base than Harris did with hers. Possible? Maybe, but pretty unlikely. Of note is that Ralston is a left-wing Democrat. If he's saying this, it's not to make Republicans feel better about themselves. On the contrary, for him to be this blunt says the situation is dire for Harris. When you start talking about a nominee changing the electorate more to have a chance, that's never a good sign. There's no good reason to believe Harris is going to remake the electorate and win big with independent voters. I'm not saying it can't happen, but there's no reason to think it will happen. We can talk about the makeup of the electorate and the Dems probably doing well with Indies. Remember, Biden won them by 6 in 2020, according to exit polls. But this turnout pattern greatly favors the R's, and there's almost no way to say anything other than that. The Dems need to do a lot of heavy lifting to make this a race by November 5th and beyond. Ralston does just a bit of coping in the above excerpt by noting that Biden won independents by 6 points. Kamala Harris is not Biden in 2020, and she's made that point abundantly clear. She's not even close. With Trump far outperforming his position in this cycle compared to 4 years ago, the vice president has to win independents by a large margin, and she's going to lose Nevada, and it's getting tougher to imagine her doing that. What does that mean for the other swing states and the election as a whole? Nevada was supposed to be Harris' best shot at taking a Sunbelt battleground. If she loses there, it's highly likely that she'll lose Arizona and Georgia as well. Further, early vote totals in the Rust Belt, while harder to gauge, also don't look good for Harris. Could the vice president lose Nevada but clean up elsewhere to win the election? It's not impossible. But at that point, we are getting into scenarios that just don't make much sense. It's been obvious for a while that the Harris campaign and the Democrats, including the press, are freaking out. And now we know why. So I've been saying this for a while, even to friends of mine that were convinced that when the swap happened, it was over. There was no way we were going to be able to come back from it. She was too popular. She'd energized her base. But that's just it. She only energized her base. And now her base is pulling away from her. If there's somebody as prominent as a Gen Z delegate moving away, imagine how many other people have moved away and aren't willing to say it. There are still people that will not tell you that they're voting for Donald Trump because they don't want to be vilified and ostracized. You have the sitting president, the guy who's in charge right now, that told everybody that Trump voters were going to be put on watch lists. Why would anybody admit to that unless they're already on the watch list for voting for him before? Let's just be real. But that's where we are. We now live in a country where your vote is being suppressed every way it possibly can, where your opinion is being suppressed unless it's one that they agree with. I would like to remind everybody that 1984 was supposed to be a warning, not a goddamned instruction manual. And yes, I know I didn't believe that one. But that's the world we live in today. The party commanded that you not believe with your own eye, or that not believe what you see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. That's where we live today. We watched this country start being run into the ground. We've watched our credit rating go down not once, but twice on their watch. And here's the funny thing. especially if you're somebody who's like, look, and I say this all the time, take 20 and 21 off the board and then look at the difference in the economy and how your life was from 17 to 19, and then for the final 3 years of Joe Biden's term. You know what I hear all the time? Donald Trump had Barack Obama's economy, and then he ran it into the ground. Except we know that's not true. But the problem with that is, if that holds water, if that's the argument that you're going to use, then in theory, all the things that they're pointing to that they say don't translate well for Americans right now because of how much higher prices have gotten, the stock market soaring, supposedly wages are keeping up with inflation now, which again is bull. Just saying. Figured I'd bleep that one since I missed one already. It's asinine. All of this is completely and totally asinine. And the only thing that I can tell you is it really does feel like people are starting to wake up. I saw David Limbaugh on my feed earlier today because he was there, I guess, at the rally. And he felt like there's just such an energy here. And that's one of the things that I am sad about. I wish the man that was hanging up above my "Don't Tread on Me" flag was here to see it, because I think he's right. I think a lot of people have woken up. Has it been enough? We'll find out in 9 days. But as we get ready to close out the show, I'm going to say to you what I've been saying to you now for weeks. Don't assume this is a foregone conclusion. No matter what the polls say, fight like we're 20 points down. As my good friend Jersey Joe says, fight like we're 20 points down, or actually that's mine. So what he normally says is vote like you're the third monkey on the ramp to get into Noah's Ark. Because that's where we are right now, folks. Look, I know that like I said, I've been doing this for 16 years. I know every election is the most critical election in our lifetime. And much like the left's Nazi rhetoric, it's been said so much that now nobody really believes it anymore. Please listen to me. If you don't listen to anything else that I've said tonight, just listen to this. I thought he was doing it at 8 his time. Anyway, let's see. All right, so yeah, as we are getting ready to end up in things here, for those of you that are hanging out with me, if you would like, you can go hang out on Rancor Steve's Rumble or YouTube channel. He's doing a Lego build podcast as we speak. I saw a message earlier and I thought he had done it earlier in the day. So since I am about to shut things down, I do encourage you to go check that out if you are so inclined. He actually is and has officially joined the KLRM Radio family and will be part of our election night coverage off and on, along with our SHR media crew. And he'll be officially joining us full-time on the 12th with his Manorama show and then anything else that he wants to run. But like I said, it's been a long couple of days. Not going into it. Well, I guess I'll say something just in case nobody knows. We lost one of our dogs yesterday, so it's been kind of a rough couple of days for me. But 9 days away. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't lose hope, but don't get too excited either. If you can bank your vote and vote early, do it. Do it now. Do it yesterday. But then on voting day and every day in between, if you have friends that are wanting to go vote and they say, well, I don't know if I can get there, and I don't know if I can do this, and I don't know if I can do that, then help them figure out how to do it. Look, I don't care if you think you live in the safest, reddest of red states ever. Go vote. This isn't just about the Electoral College anymore. I have said this, and this, I promise, will be the last thing that I talk about tonight. But I've said this over and over and over again. Very simply put, if we don't win in such a way that it is a resounding fact that we're done with their bullshit, and that includes a pretty near sweep of the Electoral College, which is harder than it used to be, as well as at least making a really good dent in the popular vote, but I would prefer that we win it, even if it's only by 2, which is why every vote matters, then they're just going to keep trying to do this. If this, let's just say for the sake of argument, that something goes completely sideways and she somehow wins this thing, we're never going to win an election again, because they're just going to keep swapping out the candidate every time their numbers don't look great, because their side doesn't care. That should be what you're the most afraid of, because now you've got the media carrying their water saying, well, there's nothing that says that they had to do things the way they've been doing them forever. That's just tradition. Anyway, my name's Rick Robinson. This has been my show. We're going to call it a night. Don't forget, I'm off tomorrow technically, but there'll be a replay of some kind up in my time slot tomorrow. And then we have SHR Media's not behind the lines. That's not them. Edge of Liberty with Sackhead Sean at 3 p.m. Eastern. All right. I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. Go hang out with Steve over on his Rumble or his YouTube channel. I prefer Rumble, but you do you, boo-boo. My name's Rick Robinson. This has been America Off the Rails. I'll see you guys next week on this one and Tuesday on the Daily. Bye, guys.
See you guys. I'm getting home. Later. Game over, man. It's game over.